I was hiding in the car trunk of my boyfriend, Chase McGregor, while grabbing my pregnancy report in one hand. In the other hand, I held a limited edition watch I had specifically prepared for him. I wanted to surprise him with my pregnancy. Chase, you wouldn't actually marry Daphne, would you? What can she offer you? Love. Loyalty. These are worth nothing in our world. Lucille Gervais wants to marry you. Her family is in charge of the entire North Sea. Once you marry her, you'll gain control of all the shipping routes, cargo operations, and drug trade on the North Sea. Yeah, Chase, stop being a fool. Daphne is nothing, she doesn't deserve to become your wife. My breath hitched as my nails sank deep into my palms. I anticipated Chase's retort, even if there was a slight hesitation to it. However, his voice was cold as he replied, arrange a meeting for me with Lucille. I'll break up with Daphne. The pregnancy report slipped from my fingers, disappearing into the darkness of the trunk. I thought Chase would be the father of my future child. We would build a family together and live happily ever after. But in that instant, my dreams were shattered. I had no idea how I returned home. Dead silence enveloped the house, and Chase's words kept lingering in my mind. I met him when I was 18. That year, I got stranded on an alpine mountain while traveling alone. I was on the brink of death. As a snowstorm raged around me, I felt the cold seeping into my body, draining me of consciousness. It was as if my blood had frozen. Everything before me blurred into a vast, white void. I had no idea how long I could hold on. In fact, I was mentally prepared to be buried beneath the snow. But just as I was about to close my eyes, Chase appeared. Clad in a dark leather jacket, he had an unlit cigarette wedged between his lips. His gaze was as cold as the frozen plain. He shouldn't have saved me. He and his subordinates were being hunted down by their enemies and were penniless. They were even running out of bullets. Nonetheless, he knelt down and scooped me up into his arms. She's about to die, someone reminded him. Chase glanced down at me and snorted. It's not like we're going to live any longer. It doesn't matter if we take her with us. He still saved me and draped the only jacket he had over my shoulders. He brought me back. Fearing that I might shatter his ego, I pretended to be as poor as him. I followed him into the criminal gray zone where gang activities were most frequent. It was a place without order, and violence and guns were the only laws of survival. It was in this brutal environment that Chase made his comeback. He earned his first fortune dealing in arms. I stayed by his side, tending to his daily needs and wounds. None of it ever felt like a burden to me. I had believed that after going through so many ups and downs together, we were meant to be with each other forever. Even when my father, the most powerful mafia boss in the South, summoned me to return and take over his position, I immediately refused. I was certain my place was with Chase. But I was horribly wrong. In the end, all I got for giving up everything was Chase's betrayal. Stroking my belly, I felt tears blurring my vision. My heart ached as if an invisible hand had seized it, the pain so overwhelming that I could barely breathe. Just then, I saw Chase return, with Lucille trailing behind him. Through the doorway, I watched as they clung to each other, locking their lips in a deep, passionate kiss for 3 whole minutes. While they were lost in each other, my world shattered completely. "My princess," Chase murmured, his hoarse tone dripping with affection. "I have to control myself. I'll make you mine after our wedding." Lucille giggled, her fingers tracing his Adam's apple in a teasing caress. "Then you'd better hold back," she said, her voice sweet and coy. "I won't let you get any sleep on our wedding night." Chase and Lucille exchanged another passionate kiss before he released her and watched her leave. He turned and entered the house, his entire body reeking of alcohol and the familiar scent of Lucille's fragrance. His expression froze as soon as he saw me, but he quickly recomposed himself. "I'm tired," he said indifferently before heading straight to his room. Standing in the living room after watching him shut the door in my face, I felt as though my heart had been repeatedly stabbed. I didn't say anything. Instead, I booked a reservation for a surgical abortion tomorrow. Then, I called my father, Frank Gambino. "Papa, I'm coming home." "Sweetheart, you finally decided to come back. Are you taking your boyfriend with you this time?" Dad asked, chuckling. His voice was dripping with joy. After all, he had been yearning for me to go back. The moment I heard his words, I burst into tears. I sacrificed everything for Chase, even to the point of almost betraying my family, yet this was what I got. Hearing my sobs, Dad was clearly alarmed. Who made my princess cry? More tears streamed down my cheeks. Wait there. I'll go pick you up now, Dad said, his voice turning cold. I immediately straightened up. It's fine. I declined his offer. I knew how much he cherished me. He would kill Chase if he found out that he betrayed me. Sucking in a deep breath, I tried to recompose myself before saying, I will settle everything before going back to find you. I packed my things after hanging up and prepared to leave. I wanted to see Chase one last time. When I walked into his bedroom, my gaze fell onto his phone, which sat on the nightstand. Chase never set a password for his phone. He said there was nothing to hide from me. But was that really the truth? I opened his phone and froze. The picture on his lock screen was no longer me, it was a picture of Lucille. Golden locks cascaded down her shoulders as she beamed at the camera. A shiver raced down my spine as I clicked on the photo album, flipping to the date of my birthday. That night, Chase told me he was busy. He was so occupied with dealing with a batch of arms that he couldn't call me, and I believed in him. But the photo before me said otherwise. He was with Lucille at the most prestigious private club in Montaigne, picking out a diamond necklace and holding a glass of champagne for her. I had never seen this side of him. What was even more ridiculous was that his subordinates were also there too. The very same men who called me Mrs. McGregor sat at the table, witnessing the sweet moment between their boss and Lucille. I closed his phone. My fingers trembled slightly, yet I didn't cry at all. Gazing at Chase's sleeping face, I removed the diamond ring he gave me and placed it on the bedside table before leaving. The next day, under the sympathetic looks the nurses gave me, I ended everything. By the time the anesthesia effects wore out, I had received several calls from Chase. My phone buzzed again, and I picked it up. Daphne, where the fuck did you go? He demanded, his voice tinged with fury. What's with the ring you left behind? Are you breaking up with me? Hearing this, I chuckled and said, Chase, isn't this exactly what you wanted? A brief silence followed. Then, his labored breathing echoed through the phone as he rasped, What on earth are you talking about? The unease in his tone was unmistakable. You've already chosen Lucille Gervais, haven't you? The other end of the line went dead silent. How did you find out about Lucille? He asked in a hushed tone. Daphne, it's not what you think. I smiled and simply hung up. The last thing I wanted was to be involved with him anymore. I called Dad and told him that I was already on the plane back home. The entire airport was cleared. From the runway to the terminal, every corner was filled with his men. A line of black bulletproof cars stretched across the tarmac, mercenaries standing on either side. They all donned sunglasses, and the bulge of firearms beneath their suits was clearly visible. The airport security had no choice but to step aside, not daring to interfere. My father was the most respected mafia don on the East Coast, and he came to pick me up himself. Time hadn't left a mark on him except for his imposing presence. Clad in a black coat, he scanned his surroundings with his piercing gaze. Every single person who met his eyes immediately lowered their heads and fell silent. But the moment his gaze fell on me, his expression softened. Dad approached me and took me into his embrace. With a heart-wrenching look on his face, he asked, Who has the audacity to make my princess suffer? I didn't answer him, and he didn't press further either. He took me home and made sure I rested well. During that time, I was cared for in every way. I eventually forgot about Chase. However, I didn't expect to see him while scrolling through Facebook. He was engaged to Lucille. In the photo, he was kneeling, kissing her pregnant belly. Staring at the bulge of Lucille's belly, I chuckled. So it turned out that they had been together so long that he had even gotten her pregnant. Thanks to my family's care, I recovered well. Dad began introducing me to the family business. I enjoyed my light workload at first, until my assistant, Skylar Fox, informed me that I had to represent my family at a gala. I agreed. Yet, I never expected to run into Chase on the night of the gala. Hand in hand with Lucille, he shot me a complicated look. Lucille also noticed me. So, are you Daphne? I nodded. Yes. A mocking smile tugged at her lips as she lifted her chin and drawled out, Daphne, I never thought you'd be the one representing the Gambino family. She tilted her head slightly, the smugness in her voice belying her feigned composure as she continued, Did you know the Gambino family's Don has always treated me like his own daughter? And the heiress of the Gambino family is my best friend. I blinked and flashed a smile at her, not willing to indulge her. We had never met before. How could we be best friends? Besides, no matter how much the Gervais family's power grows, they're just a bunch of new blood who've risen through marriage and dirty deals in recent years. If they hadn't come begging for cooperation, they wouldn't even be worthy of a seat at the table. As the oldest and most powerful mafia family in history, our family had nothing to prove. Of course, I was well aware that Lucille was saying all this to show off. Skylar wanted to say something, but I stopped him. Just then, Chase went up to me. Conflicted emotions flickered in his gaze as he asked, Daphne, why did you leave without a word? I smiled. Well, I'm letting you and Lucille have more space. His expression darkened. Meeting my gaze, he said, Daphne, you know I fought my way up to where I am now. In order to further establish my family, I have to hold on to Lucille. Hearing how justified he sounded, I felt my smile wane. Yeah, so you made the right choice. Chase seemed even more mortified. Daphne, I went looking for you as soon as you left. Grief flashed in his eyes as he continued, I know you went to the hospital too. Chase McGregor. I interrupted, scowling at him. I was glad I did that. At that moment, I realized you were never meant for me. So, I also made the right choice. Otherwise, I would have ended up being just another one of your pawns. Chase looked like someone had punched the living daylights out of him. I said nothing more. Handling the rest of my affairs to Skylar, I left on my own. Seeing those two put me in a foul mood, it was better not to cross paths at all. After I left, Skylar told me that Lucille had been acting particularly arrogant, even publicly claiming that we were best friends. I smirked, swirling a glass of red wine. Don't expose my identity just yet. Let her keep up the act. My eyes glinted as I continued, as long as I'm alive, the Genovese family will never get a single cent of business from the Gambino family.